Hey, it's Flaming Phoenix. We're here in Newark, Delaware at the printedsolids.com storefront for their grand opening. We're really excited. We're here today to show off our robot and see how we've implemented 3D filament in our robot and our competition. As well, this is the grand opening for one of our biggest sponsors, the Printed Solid, who's been a huge help this year when it comes to supplying us our 3D filament.
Hi, I'm Matt Caputo here with FTC Team 7423, the Flaming Phoenix, at the Printed Solid grand opening. I'm here with Mike, and what do you do?
Mike Carroll. I'm a third grade teacher, but I also write a book about a kid detective who builds spy gadgets. So I'm here showing the book and building spy gadgets and showing some of the spy gadgets to future spies of America.
So do you...
Hopefully America.
Yeah. So I see here you have many example things. Have you considered using 3D printing to aid your creation of these things?
Well, my goal is to take away as many prerequisites to the maker world as possible. So I've actually shied away from 3D printing. I love 3D printing, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those things that your average curious kid might not have access to. And there's so much out there for it that I didn't feel like that was a need I wanted to fill. I wanted to get that average kid who maybe doesn't have support at home for maker curiosities, to give them an option to start building things, and then lead them to 3D printing and Arduino and those more complicated robotics, more complicated avenues of making.
So where can we find your book?
You can find it right here in my hands. Other options are going to be Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all those online places. Some of the Barnes & Noble stores carry it too. And check it out, and I have a website, deweymac.com. So you can find the book, and then also all the directions on how to build anything included in the book will be on there too. So.
Do you want to go through some of the things that you created?
Sure. So this one is the Claw Blaster. It's right there on the cover, and it is a grappling hook gun made out of only the finest materials. And you just thread that in there, and you can let it rip. This is a lie detector, so when you touch these two paper clips, you hear there's a little sound being emitted. Basically what happens is if you're lying, the pitch is going to increase, and that's based on what's called the galvanic skin response, and that is that you sweat a little bit on your fingertips when you get nervous. So when you're nervous, you sweat, the sweat lets electricity travel faster, that makes the pitch increase. And it really does work, but it's hard to get somebody to become nervous to use it as an example.
Right.
It really does work. So this is the more fun version of that same circuit. This is like a DJ type thing. So my 2-year-old daughter, this is her favorite gadget. It's a lot of fun. And then this one over here is a microphone actually, but it's a microphone made out of a picture frame. So the way it works is that gold disc is called a piezo buzzer, and if you tape that to a picture frame or a window, so in the book it's a window, it basically turns that window into a microphone. So it picks up on all the vibrations that feels, turns it into a small electrical signal, and then the amplifier just makes it loud enough so you can hear it. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
Nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you, man. Thank you.
All right, I'm Justin. I'm here with Vicky from Teagle 3D. So tell me a little more about what your business is and what you guys do.
Okay, I am actually a computer software program by day, I started learning 3D modeling about 2 years ago. I started printing with a company called Shapeways. I didn't own my own printer for a year, so you can get started even though you don't own your own printer. I got a Maker Gear M2 about a year ago, and I've just been really in love with 3D printing. I've been printing things and selling them at craft shows and on Etsy. I'm not going to be quitting my day job anytime soon, but I've made enough to pay off the printer.
All right. And so what is your company and what is it? So your company is Tigo 3D and you design and print different arts and crafts, I guess, supplies and sell them?
Yeah, that's the bulk of my business. I also do 3D hubs, so if people local need to print something, I'll print it for them for a fee.
So do you do anything when it comes to like STEM outreach for students or anything?
Not formally. I've done some training sessions at a local maker club where I would teach Tinkercad. I've also gone to companies for a Take Your Daughters to Work Day event and shown them 3D printing and helped with OpenJS CAD.
All right. So where do you think 3D printing is really going when it comes to, I guess, these arts and crafts supplies, and where can it be implemented in the future?
Oh goodness. Well, I think 3D printing is going to affect every industry, but specifically for arts and crafts, I think people are going to see it. It's just like a sewing machine. They're going to be able to see it as a creative expression where they have an idea in their head and they can make it real, and it's going to be very cheap to do.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, thank you guys.
Now I'm here with the 3D printing nerd. So you have a YouTube channel, and so could you tell me a little about it?
Sure. Well, my name is Joel, and I go by the 3D Printing Nerd on YouTube, and my channel revolves around 3D printing in the way I try to evangelize the 3D printing. I like to talk about printers and filaments. I do time lapses on stuff I print. I try to print big things to show people some of the cool stuff you can do with smaller printers and still being able to print big. I have printer reviews and filament reviews, and generally I just try to have a good time with this awesome stuff.
All right, that's really cool. So first question is, where do you think 3D printing is going to help improve STEM and in the future?
That's a really good question. So 3D printing itself has kind of become the Kleenex term for tissue, right? 3D printing is really describing additive manufacturing. And I think where it's going to improve STEM going forward is it's going to expose kids and students to a type of manufacturing technology that can make stuff that other traditional types of manufacturing cannot make. And I think that's where we're going in the future. And so the sooner that students learn about these technologies and where it's going in the future, I think the better prepared they're going to be for the future and for the jobs that will be available.
As well as, do you think there's also going to be, or like what current printers are there that can be used for people who are at a lower budget? Say there's in little like lower budget school districts, say in inner cities. Are they still able to get those printers and be able to teach their students about that?
I think so. I don't want to say that certain printers are in a race for the bottom, but you're going to find that certain types of printers are going to get lower and lower in price, and you'll be able to have a higher adoption in places that couldn't normally afford a printer. There's a printer called the Fabricator Mini, sold by a company called Hobby King, and it's under $200. Wow. It's a smaller printer. It can't print things very large, but it can do multi-materials, and it really gives the people that use it an idea of what's possible with 3D printing. Mm-hmm. I consider sub $1,000 printers affordable, right? Yes. And I think that printers that are sub 1,000 in the next 18 months, some will be sub 800, some will be sub 600, and I think the secondary market for printers, as these new printers come out, people will start to sell off their old ones because they don't have room or they don't need them, and then you're going to find a higher adoption because there will then be more printers available at that lower cost.
And so now about this grand opening here at Printed Solid. So what actually brings you here?
Oh, well, Matt has run Printed Solid for a while, and he's been a valuable resource for me and my channel. I've known Matt for quite some time now. Ever since I really started 3D printing, he's helped me out with lots of things, and he sent me filament for review. We've collaborated on a few things, and when he said, I'm having this grand opening, he's transitioning to this being his day job, and he's got a location now that all this all used to exist in his house.
Yep.
So now that it's not, he wanted to have a celebration. Of course, I was going to be here to help.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man. We should probably high five.
All right. All right, so I'm here with Matt Gorton, the founder and owner of Printed Solid here at the grand opening. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
So a couple questions. First, so what actually brought you into going into the 3D printing field, and what inspired all this?
So I got to a point in my career where I was doing more helping other people do things and less creating of my own, and I just came across the existence of desktop 3D printers, and so I bought one and I started making things for people, and it just kind of snowballed from there. As I made more connections in the industry, I started selling, importing materials from Europe and from Color Fab and, selling it. And then as my customers wanted other things, I would say, hey, I have 15 people that want this like E3D hot end, so I'll buy a bunch of them and then, sell that, and then I'd add that to the store, and, it just expanded more and more.
All right, so currently you are the regional and actually I'm probably one of the biggest distributors of Color Fab in the whole country, actually. So which of the Color Fab filaments actually your favorite or favorite to use?
So my favorite Color Fab filament is probably wood fill. I think as an engineer, I don't get to make a lot of artistic things in other, I can't sculpt, I can't do any of those things. And so having a material like wood fill allows me to create more artistic things and get cool artistic effects that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do. So that's, something I like. And then for engineering use, their XT material is probably my favorite.
All right. So about 3D printing, where do you think 3D printing is going to go, and how big of an impact is it going to have on industries around the world, like almost any industry whatsoever?
Already I think most industries are using 3D printing in some ways. At the prototyping stage, having to go, like if you're at a smaller company, like a startup, to get things machined and made is a big endeavor, whereas you can quickly make something on a 3D printer with, buying even a relatively expensive desktop 3D printer is probably going to be less money than buying, a single job of, tooling, and, you don't have to, if it doesn't work, then you just make another one instead of, being stuck with this big chunk of metal. So yeah, there's, huge impact at that level. And then, we're seeing more of, production parts, I think is a little bit, that's going to follow a little bit. It's going to be, I expect to see production parts more for specialized industries like medical, aerospace, where they're not making hundreds of thousands or millions of things. They're making, dozens or hundreds. I think 3D printing works well in that space.
And also, how do you think 3D printing is affecting STEM and education in schools?
So for myself, when I was a student, I was always the student that was like, why are we learning this? Why are we learning about this thing, and why am I learning about the quad? I don't remember whatever why are we learning about this formula in math class? I'm never going to use it for anything. And so when you're able to take these things that you're learning about and make them into action. That's why I'm a mechanical engineer. Why I ended up doing mechanical engineering in school was because I wanted to be able to relate concepts to actual physical things. So for me personally, the ability to see and touch things that I'm learning about makes everything more real, and it makes the learning better and stronger. I'm seeing, the things that you guys are doing now in school is just incredible. I wasn't doing these things, when I was in school, 25 years ago or whatever. You guys are able to do more earlier, and, going into the workforce with a bigger tool set than, people in my generation, and then, that will just follow, and technology will advance at an exponential rate. So yeah, huge impact.
All right, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, it's Flaming Phoenix here at the end of the Printed Solid grand opening event here in Newark, Delaware. We had a great time here. It was super fun. We met a lot of really cool people who had very interesting applications for 3D printing. It's a huge thanks to Matt Gorton for inviting us here, as well as him being a great help for us this year when it comes to supplying 3D filament. But overall, we had a great time, and we'll see you next time.